Adam, pleased to meet you. I'm really honored to get a chance to talk to you today about your film.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
So a lot to talk to you about with Seven Veils. You have a background in opera, and this is an opera that you had previously staged. Where did the concept for you of turning this into a story in a film come from?
Well, I originally staged this particular production in 1996, and it was really successful, and it's been remounted several times in different places. And when it when I heard it was going to come back to the Canadian Opera Company 2 years ago, I just began to think of, well, like it's a very controversial production. It's upsetting for some people, but we were living in a different place than 1996. And I thought, okay, how do you situate it in this present time? And there's nothing I could do to change the production because of the sets and the costumes are all fixed. But I began to imagine that maybe there's a way of creating kind of a story around the remount, which kind of addressed some of my concerns. And once that took a hold of me, like I just went, okay, this is a great opportunity. The and this character began to emerge of Janine, played by Amanda Seyfried, who was like coming back to this production that she was involved with as a very young woman, that she had had a relationship with the original director, an older figure who was her mentor, who happened to be married to the person who's now running the opera company, who's passed away, put in his will that she must direct the remount. So, like, she's leaving behind this began to take hold of me, she's leaving behind like you know, issues with her upbringing and her family home and her current house that she lives in with her husband and daughter, and now she's in a huge house, the opera house, and like she feels like there are all these opportunities for her to escape from her life, but suddenly she's given these restrictions, and suddenly she has to go back to this time where this feeling that she had from much earlier, and it creates unexpected kind of results, and so we have this amazing you know performance from Amanda, where she takes us on this journey, and she begins to inhabit kind of the idea of Salome. She sees herself as Salome in a crazy way, and yeah, it was a rare, crazy, like, to try and do this at the exact time that the opera was on stage, to get everything in place for the film, was unlikely at a number of levels, and that Amanda would be available, having just won the Emmy that she won for Dropout at the time, like, was unlikely. But it somehow miraculously happened with a lot of stress. I won't go into those stories, but it was like not easy. But then we were there, and we were able to combine these two worlds. You don't have to know anything about opera to enjoy this film. I think it's a simple story really, and it's explained to you at the beginning, and you can just you know enter into it. But it's a very specific world. I know the workplace really well, and it was really fun to kind of show it off in a way, show off this crazy world where people are just so driven by so many different agendas, right? Like,
Mm. Now, so talk a little bit about your relationship with Amanda. You obviously previously directed her in Chloe. Why her for this role, and talk a little bit about what she brought to it as an actor.
what she brings is this incredible sense of emotional availability, because I knew that from the beginning this character was on her own. Like, she was like, there was no one supporting her. The series of relationships around her are not conventional ones, and the only way this was going to work was if the audience had access to her and understood her, and felt for her. So, like, what she brought to Chloe was just exceptional. Like, no matter what you might think of the film, like, she is exceptional in that movie because she makes us feel for this character who otherwise would have been a like, you feel like those scenes between her and Julianne Moore were like some of my peak experiences as a director, because both of them were able to just lift those scenes because of the what they were able to communicate with their feelings, and the complexity of that was just really rich. So when that film came out, we really did say well, like the usual thing, we'll do find something else to work on, but it's not that easy, really. It's um, I read a number of things and it wasn't right, but this one was like when I started writing it, it went, okay, this is Amanda. She's inspiring this role for me.
Mm.
So yeah, I can't imagine anyone else.
And some of the actors in the film are actually from the Canadian Opera Company as
I
well.
mean, they are the singers, the actual singers. That was the other huge risk. Like, would they want to be? Because if they didn't, I mean, we were in trouble. One of them wasn't crazy about it, so her role got reduced, and but our Salome was really on board, and it was there were a lot of balls in the air, and it was like, there. But I just the whole time I just felt this had to happen. Like there was something that was so unique about this, and I, you just become really willful, and you become persistent. Like at one point the financing was going to collapse, and then it sort of miraculously was saved at the last minute, and we were there. We were shooting 2 years ago.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about your process. So you really are an auteur in the sense that you're writing this thing and then you're conceiving it and then you're bringing it to the screen. Um, does it change like once you have it on the paper to when you're actually, as you're saying, there are all these different elements, like maybe, certain sets aren't about like these things that you have to improvise and call audibles while filming it.
Okay, so the difference between a film like Chloe and a film like Seven Veils, Chloe is a studio film, so I don't have the freedoms that I have on a film like this. So any changes that I make to a film like Chloe have to be vetted by a number of people, but there's also test screenings, and there's a whole process where that film is shaped, which does not exist with a film like Seven Veils. Seven Veils is the product of I would say my vision of it, and I show it to friends, of course, but I mean, and things do shift. Like the structure might shift, and scenes are rearranged in different order, and because it's not formulaic, it's not following any sort of a formula. I've structured it in a way that I have control over it, and like there's a whole bunch of my films that I've been able to do that with, and others that I'm working as in a more industrialized sort of format. Still hoping that my sensibility will be there, but not as explicitly as it is in a film like this. This is, I would say, yeah, it is. I find the term a little pretentious, like auteur, but let's use that. It's the closest thing, I guess, where you are assuming creative responsibility for all the decisions in it.
Yeah.
And on top of it, I'm also assuming the creative responsibility for the production you're seeing, because that's interpretive as well. It's not a traditional staging of Salome. So it's seeing it as a psychodrama, stripped of all its biblical kind of like references, and at the time, this radical idea of not having the dance of the seven veils, using that 8 minutes of music to kind of show a flashback into another scene. So that was tremendously exciting as a filmmaker, but it's a lot of people found that really outrageous because they come to see the dance of the seven veils, and they're seeing it. They are seeing the dance of the seven veils, but it's a different set of veils.
Interesting, interesting. So let's talk about a few of the themes in the film. There's a lot about this unresolved family trauma. There are also themes of artistic authorship and what it means to have authorship over an artistic production. What were some of the themes that you wanted to bring out in the film?
Well, those themes, those are important themes. Um, I would say what's interesting is that I don't know if it's I think she actually thinks she's come to terms with what's happened in her past. And, because she's talked about it, people know it. It seems to be in the air. But what she doesn't expect is that by going into this environment, and having these conditions placed on her, that she's going back into a state that she thought she had left behind. And she's now having to kind of re reconfigure her own feelings about a lot of stuff that she hasn't thought about for a while. And that was interesting as a, so what does creativity give us? It gives us this idea of being able to explore things, but there are also dangers with that. And there are unexpected places that we might find ourselves, both, ways that might enhance or uh, maybe complicate our feelings or our relationships. I wanted it to be entertaining. I just think it's also for people, like if you don't know this world, it's kind of a crazy work environment. And if you don't know the opera, you don't need to know it at all, but it's an interesting way to kind of be introduced to this world. Um, and there's a lot of stuff I'm dealing with personally in it, in terms of what I do. And I think, yeah, when you make of something, sometimes it's easier to give a sense that you had an idea of what you were trying to say while you were making it. All I knew is that this was a really unusual opportunity. And I knew that because the production itself was so successful, and so available to people, because it's been, like it always packs the house when we put this on, wherever we do it. It's really, it's and everyone kind of waits for the shocking moment to happen, which is one of the most signature moments in opera or in live theater, like when Salome kisses the severed head of John the Baptist. It's still shocking. It's amazing to me. But that if I could create some energy around that, which was dealing with what it takes to produce that stage image, I thought that'd be interesting.
Mm. I'd like to ask, since you have such a big body of work that's very respected, do you have a movie for you that was the most meaningful, or you look back on and you think that was your peak experience?
Well, and actually, it's related to this. Exotica is I feel a special film because it was dealing with a piece of personal history and um, feelings I had, and I just feel it all came together in a certain way. And I did the stage production right after Exotica. So it was the next creative piece that I did. So going back to that time in my own life has been interesting. And but I do have strong feelings for Exotica. And the second feature, family viewing, also I'm surprised I was able to do that film at that time in my life because it was dealing with a very personal story.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know, like it's interesting. Different days, I don't ask myself that question. The question that's more interesting to me are the ones that have not done well that I feel protective of. Because, when you talk about The Sweet Hereafter or, you know, I feel like Ararat or, or Exotica, that, they found their audience, whatever the audience was. But there are films that don't. And, you kind of think that they're worth another look, maybe.
Adam, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us on the You Interview channel. Congratulations on the film. We hope everyone gets a chance to see it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching the You Interview channel. With over 3,000 original celebrity videos, we have one of the largest collections of celebrity interviews anywhere. So remember to like and comment on our videos and subscribe to the channel. If you want to get more involved, you can become a member of the channel. Membership has its perks. You can see exclusive celebrity videos and get the opportunity to ask our celebrity guests questions. We can't wait to hear from you.